Welcome to this deep dive, something we put together specifically for you, the learner. Have you ever had those moments, standing at a crossroad, loads of paths ahead, all looking, well, possible, but you just feel frozen, can't take that first step? Today, we're really going to unpack that feeling, the fear of making decisions. And we've got a really fascinating perspective with us today, someone who looks at this through the lens of Gestalt psychology and philosophy, thinking about how we actually see choices, how our focus shifts, the patterns underneath it all. And alongside that, we'll bring in some, grounded, real-life stuff to make it all feel tangible, our mission, to navigate this labyrinth of choice and maybe find some surprising insights for you.
That labyrinth image, it really hits home, doesn't it? Because we're told constantly that having endless options is the dream, freedom. But, well, that very abundance can feel like a trap sometimes. Anxiety kicks in. There's work like Barry Schwartz's that points this out, the paradox of choice. More options don't always equal more happiness. Sometimes it's just dissatisfaction, regret even.
It feels so backwards, right? You think more choice, more freedom, better chance of getting it perfect. But what's actually happening inside our heads from that Gestalt view when we're just swimming in possibilities?
Well, fundamentally, from a Gestalt standpoint, our minds crave order. We want coherence. We're pattern seekers by nature. So when you throw just countless options at us, that drive gets confused, overloaded.
Like static.
Sort of. Instead of clear paths, it's perceptual noise. Our attention fractures, pulled here, pulled there by all these competing figures, and there's no stable ground, no solid context to hold on to. Think about trying to listen to 3 conversations at once. You can't really grasp any of them fully.
Okay, so the mind's trying to latch onto something clear, but there's just too much going on.
Exactly. It struggles to find that stable figure against a chaotic background.
That makes sense. You mentioned an example, Sarah, right? 2 job offers, one stable, one more creative. And she was just bouncing between them, couldn't land. The key thing wasn't just the jobs themselves, was it?
No, precisely. It wasn't just a simple pros and cons list. Her struggle was deeper. It was about the mechanism of choosing itself, navigating that fragmented awareness we talked about. Every time she focused on one job, made it the figure, the other one, still lurking in the ground of her mind.
Yeah.
It would just pull her back. She couldn't get that stable perception, that sense of, okay, this is it.
Which feeds into that feeling that having more choices should mean more control. We think options empower me.
Right, the illusion of control. And it's an illusion partly because we get so fixated on the decision itself, the figure again. We zoom in so much that we lose sight of the bigger picture, the ground, our values, where we actually want to go long term.
So the choice itself kind of hijacks our focus.
It can, yeah. It creates this internal tension, throws off that figure ground balance. We hyper-focus on selecting and disconnect from the larger story of our life.
And you see this everywhere, don't you? The classic Netflix scroll.
Oh.
Endlessly searching.
Oh,
feeling overwhelmed, and then maybe just picking something safe you've seen before, or just giving up.
Exactly. Or the traveler staring at a menu in a language they don't know.
Yeah.
And just defaulting to the burger, maybe missing out on something amazing.
So even when choice is meant to be liberating, it can feel really destabilizing. Like the ground is shifting under you.
Perfectly put. These everyday things show how too much choice can actually paralyze us. We end up choosing out of fear or just sheer exhaustion.
Which brings us to that really interesting idea, the inner author. Can you unpack that a bit? How does it connect to why decisions are so hard?
The inner author. Yeah, it speaks to this deep human need we have to create narratives, to make sense of things. We want to weave our experiences into a story that feels coherent, meaningful.
Like trying to write our own life story as we go.
Exactly, and it lines up beautifully with Gestalt ideas about perceiving whole forms, seeking meaning. Our choices then become the plot points. The chapters in this autobiography we're writing moment by moment.
So if I'm struggling with a choice, the takeaway is,
recognize you're not just picking option A or B, you're actually choosing a direction for your story. Which plotline do you want to follow?
okay, so it's not just selecting, it's authoring. And each choice represents a different potential story, a different version of me.
Right, and that's where the difficulty often lies. Choosing one path implicitly means not choosing the others.
The road's not taken.
Exactly. And our inner author kind of mourns the loss of those other potential storylines, those unlived selves. When we pick one thing, the figure, the others fade into the background, the ground, but they don't vanish completely. They still have this pull.
Which makes it hard to fully commit. creates that fragmented feeling in the story.
It can, yes. It makes it harder for the author to feel like the narrative is really flowing smoothly in one direction.
You used a great metaphor for this, the bridge builder. Can you remind us of that?
Yes. Imagine your present self on one side of a big canyon uncertainty, the unknown. Your future self is on the other side. Decisions are the planks you use to build a bridge across.
Seems simple enough.
At first, but then doubt sneaks in. Is this plank strong enough? Is there a better spot to build? Should I use different wood? We can get obsessed with finding the perfect plank, the perfect decision, paralyzed by perfectionism.
And while we're hesitating.
The gap just widens. Our future self seems even further away.
And the real point wasn't about building a flawless bridge, was it? It was about something else.
It boils down to trust. Trusting yourself, trusting the process, even if it's messy, trusting the unknown on the other side. Every plank, every decision, even the wobbly ones, they move you forward. They're part of the journey.
You can always fix a plank later, maybe.
Absolutely. Rebuilding is possible. The crucial thing is the act of building, taking that step onto the bridge into the void.
That's powerful. You flipped the script on fear, the fear of choosing wrong. You said it's not just something bad to avoid. What's the hidden gift?
Well, that fear, that anxiety around a choice, it's often a signal. It tells you that you actually care about the outcome deeply. It means you're at a significant point, a potential turning point in your story.
So if it didn't matter, you wouldn't feel the fear.
Exactly. If the stakes were zero, decisions would be easy, meaningless. The fear is a sign that the choice holds real weight, real potential to shape things.
And the Gestalt idea of awareness comes in here. Paying attention to that fear.
Yes, absolutely. Observing it without judgment. Where does it come from? Past failures, what others expect, your own hopes. Instead of pushing fear away, we can kind of invite it in for a chat. Listen to what it's telling us about what's truly important.
Like a compass almost.
Could be. For someone listening, think about a big, scary decision. What did that fear actually point towards about what you valued?
This reframing leads to a different view of possibility too. That choosing path A doesn't automatically erase path B forever.
Right. We tend to think linearly, like choosing one door slams all others shut. But life's rarely like that. It's more like a network, a web, interconnected.
How so?
When you choose a path, yes, you head in that direction. But the other paths don't just vanish. They might shift, reappear later in a different form. You might gain skills on path A that suddenly make path C possible in a way it wasn't before.
Like streams branching from a river, they go different ways, but it's all the same water system.
Beautiful analogy, exactly. The dream you shelved might circle back. The skill you didn't learn might become relevant later. It's transformation, not usually permanent loss.
So the labyrinth isn't just a scary maze.
It can become a playground of potential, and fear isn't just a stop sign, it's maybe a beacon, highlighting what matters. Every choice, every step, shapes that unique story we're writing.
Let's go back to that inner author idea. You mentioned it works within Gestalt's active perception trying to make order. How does choosing sometimes mess that up?
Right, our minds aren't just passively receiving info, they're actively trying to make sense, create that coherent narrative. Decisions are those key plot points. But the act of choosing, especially between compelling options, can create conflict. It makes it harder for the inner author to keep the story flowing smoothly.
How does that conflict manifest in our perceptions, our feelings?
Well, Gestalt talks about the field, the total experience right now. When a choice appears, the options become the main thing, the figure. Everything else is the ground. The problem is when that figure-ground relationship gets shaky, different options keep grabbing the spotlight.
Like flipping channels really fast.
Yeah, that kind of internal oscillation. It makes it tough for the inner author to settle, to commit to a narrative direction. It's like that writer facing the blank page, right? So many potential words, sentences. Where to even start? That struggle for coherence, for closure, feels just out of reach.
And that desire for closure connects to the Gestalt idea of wholeness, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We want things to feel complete, resolved.
Exactly. We have this innate drive for completion. We want our choices to fit neatly, to feel right within the whole picture of our lives. But choosing can feel like fragmentation, because each option is a potential future self. Committing to one feels like abandoning the others.
Like that musician example, solo versus band, independence versus collaboration. Choosing one feels like losing a part of yourself.
Precisely. It fractures the field of awareness, creates conflicting potential selves within the narrative.
And you mentioned unfinished business again here. that the fear of choosing wrong is partly fear of staying stuck in that limbo.
Yes, that unresolved state carries psychological weight. The dread of perpetuating that feeling of incompleteness can make choosing feel even more high stakes.
So how does attention, that spotlight, playing into this?
Yeah.
How does it contribute to the fragmentation or help find wholeness?
Attention is key. It determines what's figure, what's ground. When we're overwhelmed, attention scatters, jumps around, restless. It's hard to get a stable focus, a clear picture. Like using a flickering flashlight in a dark room, you only see fragments.
You mentioned isomorphism, a mismatch between our inner state and outer reality. Can you give another quick example?
Imagine trying to have a calm, rational discussion when you're feeling incredibly agitated inside. Your inner state agitation doesn't align well with the external goal, calm discussion. That disconnect is a lack of isomorphism. It distorts how you perceive and interact.
Got it. So when we're facing choices, feeling scattered, how do we get back that alignment, that isomorphism?
It starts with bringing attention back to the present, consciously. Expand awareness, see the choice, figure, and the context, ground. It's like zooming out from the specific options to see the whole landscape of your life, your values.
Stepping back to see the bigger pattern.
Exactly. Often that wider view reveals connections or possibilities that were invisible when you were hyper-focused or fragmented.
Like the musician realizing solo and band weren't necessarily in either.
Precisely. Shifting attention allowed a move from dichotomy to synthesis, from either to both hand or maybe something else entirely. That transforms the fragmentation into wholeness.
And that shift, that new way of seeing, can lead to those aha moments, right? Those flashes of insight.
Yes, insight in Gestalt is that sudden understanding. Things just click, the ambiguity resolves, and doesn't always come from just grinding away logically. It often emerges from engaging fully with the situation, even the uncertainty, until a new perspective arises organically.
You mentioned Sarah, again, moving from stability or creativity to stability can enable creativity.
That's it. Her insight transcended the initial binary. She saw they could support each other. That kind of insight often happens when we let go of needing to force an answer. When we trust the field's natural tendency towards organization, what Gestalt calls self-regulation.
Like letting the river find its own course.
Exactly. Trusting that an organic solution can emerge if we don't dam it up with frantic effort.
Then you talked about patterns of awareness, the mental habits shaping how we see and decide. How do these work for and against us?
These patterns are built from past experiences, beliefs, habits. They're mental shortcuts, super useful for familiar stuff. But when faced with something new or complex, those same shortcuts can be limiting. We might default to the familiar pattern even if it's not the best fit now.
Like the person equating success only with money, that pattern limits exploring other fulfilling paths.
Perfect example. Breaking free takes conscious effort. You have to notice the pattern and actively disrupt it.
How do you disrupt it?
Visualization is one tool. Mentally test driving different choices. Engaging your senses. Imagine the outcomes, like the musician visualizing playing solo versus with the band feeling the emotions, the energy. That helps clarify preferences beyond just the habitual thought patterns. It helps integrate those fragmented parts.
And this all comes back to balancing figure and ground.
Absolutely. Fear often stems from imbalance. Too much focus on the figure, the choice, loses context. Or the ground, too many options, is so cluttered you can't see a clear figure. Balance requires contact being fully present, engaged with the choice, while staying aware of the wider field.
Moving beyond black and white thinking.
Yes. Embracing complexity, trade-offs, seeing decisions not as pass-fail tests, but as growth opportunities. Every plank on that bridge contributes. Right? The act of choosing builds resilience, even if the choice isn't perfect. Fear becomes a catalyst to learn, adapt, expand.
So shifting from solving a problem to creating something, that's where we head next.
Exactly. Thinking of choice not as finding the right answer out there, but as an act of design. We're sculpting our existence with each decision. And there's a kind of paradox here. You have to act, commit, but also surrender control over the ultimate outcome.
You brought back isomorphism here too. Choice doesn't just select, it reshapes our awareness how we'll see things next.
Yes. Some choices open up our psychological world, expand our view. Others might, unintentionally, narrow it, feel constricting. Think of a painter with a blank canvas. Every stroke adds something, defines the image.
It eliminates other possibilities for that space.
Exactly. Limitation becomes part of the creation. It forces exploration within boundaries. That's where the unique form emerges.
So infinite options isn't the same as infinite freedom. Real freedom is making coherent choices within the chaos.
That's a great way to put it. It's about integration, taking the fragments and making a meaningful whole through commitment, transforming noise into form. It's like that river again, constantly carving its path, evolving, shaping, and being shaped.
Which leads to challenging the illusion of permanence, the idea that our choices lock us into fixed futures.
Life just doesn't work that way, does it? It's too dynamic, too unpredictable. Our choices create ripples, sure, but the effects are often far-reaching and totally unexpected.
Like the musician whose practice routine leads to a whole new style.
Or the writer who picks one word and it unlocks a completely different story direction. Decisions open doors, portals maybe, not just lockdown trajectories. It connects to existential ideas, searcher, condemned to be free, creating who we are through action. Gestalt adds the dynamic interplay with the environment.
But we still crave stability, don't we? How do we reconcile that with life's constant flux?
Maybe true stability isn't about resisting change. Maybe it's about adaptability, staying centered while navigating the currents. Like the bridge builder trusting each plank, even knowing the far shore isn't fully mapped out.
Which brings us to that lovely metaphor, the unfinished symphony. Life is a work in progress.
Always evolving, never quite done. Which can be comforting. Imperfection is okay. But also unsettling, it's endless. Gestalt talks about closure, that drive for resolution. But in life, true, final closure is rare. Every ending is a new beginning.
Like consciousness itself arising from contrasts.
In a way, yes. The fear of choice is often fear of the unknown, the unformed, the unfinished symphony. But growth happens when we lean into that uncertainty, engage in creative adjustment, adapting while staying true to ourselves. Flexibility and fidelity. It means navigating complexity, holding contradictions, acknowledging loss while seeing potential, accepting imperfection.
So if choice is creation, we're all architects of our own lives and maybe more.
In a very real sense, yes. Architects of individual and collective reality. Our choices ripple outwards. The musician sharing music online, the writer sparking dialogue, even small choices leave imprints on the wider system. It brings back figure and ground. Individual actions, figure, get meaning from the larger context, ground. We're inseparable.
So it calls for awareness beyond just ourselves. Humility.
I think so. Considering longer-term effects, aligning our intentions with the flow of things as best we can.
Which leads beautifully to your final point, this invitation to the unknown. Shifting how we even relate to choosing. What's the core invitation?
It's about changing the story we tell ourselves about choice. So often we frame it as a problem, a threat, reducing rich possibilities to stark, scary binaries. The invitation is to see choice as creation, as agency, as possibility.
Trading dread for curiosity.
Exactly, asking what can I learn instead of what if I'm wrong, seeking insight, not certainty. Welcoming growth, not just fearing failure. It's about reclaiming our role as authors, honoring the whole story, light and shadow.
And this isn't an end point, is it? It's a beginning.
Absolutely. The labyrinth is infinite. It keeps inviting deeper exploration. The horizon always beckons. The question becomes, are you ready to follow where it leads? Beyond the known, into the unknown, where meaning waits. The uncertainty is the possibility. Choosing, then, becomes this courageous affirmation of our humanity, our decision to live fully.
Wow. So we're not just lost in a maze. We're building bridges, composing symphonies, designing universes in our own way, even if the blueprint isn't clear.
The tools are within you. That's the empowering part.
Well, we hope this deep dive into the, yes, sometimes daunting world of decisions, looking through that Gestalt lens, has sparked some fresh thoughts for you, the learner. Maybe some aha moments. Maybe think about that figure-ground dynamic next time you feel stuck. What's in focus? What's faded out? What patterns might be running the show unconsciously? And maybe, just maybe, try embracing that uncertainty, not as a monster, but as, well, as the space where creation happens. This is really just scratching the surface, isn't it?
Always more to explore.
We really encourage you to keep digging into these ideas, see how they resonate with your own life, your own choices. Thank you so much for joining us for this tailored deep dive. We're really looking forward to our next exploration together.